My name is Manieka Edmonds. I am the founder and creative director for Shop Reclaim Denim. The moment when I fell in love with vintage and thrifting. It's a trend now in most recent years, but it wasn't so trendy when I first fell in love with it. It wasn't even, it's a totally different group of a community of people that is engulfed in the whole sustainable arena, even down to separated from regular vintage clothing down to denim, sustainable denim. No, the sustainability part has not always been the sole purpose. Learning about the sustainable clothing came along later when I really decided to turn my love for thrifting as a hobby into a business. So the sustainability part paid the road at that point in time, and that was like around 2011, 2010, 2011. That's pretty much it. So in order to get, or for people to understand um, the vintage clothing, I felt like incorporating sustainability and teaching people about what it means to shop secondhand, because just shopping secondhand period is sustainable because it's recycled clothing, like you're just recycling, garments. Um, that needed to be studied on and it needed to be talked about and included in what the brand's purpose was. Back when I was deemed myself a stylist and put myself out there as a stylist when I had my blog, that's when I quickly realized that this area isn't very fashion forward. It is very corporate and they're in a box, right? And then, so my style has always been different from everyone else around me. And then in my circle of friends of people, I've always kind of quietly stood out because there was just this different element to my style of dress versus everyone else. And that being said, because it's very conventional, the style in DC is very, very conventional. And to me, it has evolved a little bit with people growing into their own individuality. However, it's still conservative and still tailored around, um, yeah, the conservative. Yes, corporate vibe. Yes. So describe your style in 3 words. Timeless, minimalist, classic. Classic can go with kind of like timeless, but it's not very abstract at all. It's just very like uniform, um, with just maybe a little bit of. I gave you 3 words, but I'm going deeper. Yeah, no, that's fine. Very uniform, but with just a little it factors. What is now Shop Reclaim Denim used to be Ragdoll's Collective. In 2014, we started off as Ragdoll's Collective, and that was branched off of just my hobby. It was a hobby of me going thrifting, and I just took all the clothes and was like, I'm gonna make this. I started selling on eBay. Then I was like, well, no, eBay is not open to everybody. I just noticed it was other sellers buying my clothes. So I was like, I want to have my own website, whatever. Did that. And then that was Ragdoll's Collective was just like what the name said. It was the 80s dresses, the polyester, the button-ups, the blazers, but more so the dresses and everything. Those very 80s, 70s dresses. Then I two or 3 years after that, I was like, this is keeping us in the box. So then I did Studio 75, which was like the umbrella for Ragdoll's Collective and a few other things that fall into play under that. And eventually, the way I got to where I am today is with Shop Reclaim Denim is because I had to sit down and say, okay, what do I really, I love denim. I was like, probably out of all my friends, I have hundreds of pairs of denim, high end, low end, vintage, everything. So I was like, Levi's is my thing. I love Levi's. So we want to define this. So in 2021, after doing Studio 75, having all these filler bag sales, getting rid of the t-shirts, like everything else, I was like, we're going to refine this down to just the denim. And I love men's button-ups and blazers, the denim, the button-ups, the blazers, We do like small drops of t-shirts here and there when we get ready to launch, to do a relaunch, and refine that. And I want the name to fit that, which is Reclaim Denim. So that was kind of like an evolution of how we started, how we kind of got in the middle, and then really refined it down to what it is today. That's how it started. And I ultimately, the start was me 2010 doing a blog called the Style Vault. And that was just me blogging on Blogger back then, on Blogger, about my thrift finds, and then just kind of evolving into what this is. Maybe it's something that's embedded. Like, I think that's something that people just have. Like I've always been told I have a great eye for things, especially clothes and material and like this. And so I think that's just embedded in me. And so over the years, evolving from one thing to the next, going through name changes and everything to just fit the dynamic of the brand, that was just something that naturally happened. And I'm gonna speak to the fact that I move when I feel creatively led to move, and maybe that's the it factor right there, not being pushed by the outside noise, standing in that purpose, and just moving when I feel like, okay, let me do this and let me refine it to down to this, so you can really, really see like this is what it is. Does that make any sense? No, it does. Yeah. So that's how I think it happened naturally. So right now, what's in the works? We have been in remission for 3 years, and that's on purpose. That has been on purpose because it is. It's a thing where I really want the brand to have a deeper purpose, and then finding and going into that deeper purpose, I'm not focusing on pushing the product. I'm focusing on like what the deeper purpose is, like the connectivity between mental health and well-being and the way we dress. And that ties back into me as an individual, right? I dress according to how I feel. Minimalist colors and color palettes and clean lines gives me a sense of calm, right? And so that's what the brand speaks to. And so I want to start the conversation with this particular brand about the connectivity between mental health and well-being and how we dress. I'm a filler. I dress according to how I feel. So I just related it to myself, and how I feel when I put on certain clothes, how I feel going through the motions and being at the age that I'm at, this midlife is something. And the ups and downs. When I get dressed one minute, oh, I don't like that. I don't feel right in it. I don't like it. Um, Takes a toll on your mental. And if you don't look good, you don't feel good. If you don't feel good, you don't look good. And so that's just how I came to that. And there are definitely conversations out here about mental health and well-being, especially now when it comes to like color palettes and things, but for us, it's deeper. So it's personable. So just with my fitness journey, that I started 2 years ago, there's been like up and down, but number one is that fitness journey because I've noticed that my body changed as I got older. In the last 2 years, it has changed. My body composition has changed. And so I feel more confident when I work out, when I'm consistent in my routine. And then so therefore when I put on my clothes, yes, I feel good. I look good. And that's my mental health. So what that looks like is following me through my fitness journey, as well as just navigating this midlife, and starting over because I have to start over. So when I'm sourcing for the brand, a typical sourcing day would be on a Sunday or a Monday. If it was local, the local thrift stores. And my sourcing looks like going to the men's section, picking up denim, picking up blazers and button ups, and then t-shirts here and there. On other days, we may take a road trip up to Philly or New Jersey, hit the warehouses and source like that. Those are better because you get more, but it's just an all day process, digging through bins and looking for good quality, good items to then bring back home, clean, and put out. But my advice to those who want to source, like going thrifting, would be plan. Check out the local thrift stores. A lot of the local ones don't have great items, but they may have some one-offs here and there. But plan your trip, know what you're going in there for, and stay focused on that. So I just know when, since we've narrowed this down to strictly like being a denim brand, vintage brand, and we have three very basic items that we sell. It's the denim, the button ups, like the button up I have on now, and the blazers, right? So for us, going sourcing really just looks like, okay, we're going to hit up, just look for the denim. So I do look for, there isn't much, it's not much to pick from vintage Levi's in the United States, especially not here. So I'll go for the 90s or the early 2000s. Levi's. They could be 501s, 550s, 505s, some Lees, but a clear cut sign to look for would be looking at the tag on the inside of the denim. Sometimes the outside, this piece, the tab. Some of them are leather. This one was paper, but some of them are leather that could let you know like maybe the year that they were made or the decade that they were in. But those are the main key pieces that things that I look at. But not everyone knows how to source to that magnitude.
Yeah, I feel like that's a total.
It's very detailed, but yeah.
And how did you grow to that level? Because I feel like that's a different level of that's
Yes.
sourcing. It's not just thrifting. You actually know certain aspects
of the denim.
Garments, yeah,
Yes.
that you're picking up.
So I studied denim, the history of denim, left hand twill, right hand twill, what denim distresses better. A lot of people don't go into that, but I studied denim down to the T. And so, because I felt like this is my brand, this is what I was going to do, I had to be able to speak to it. I have to be able to, in my description on the website, give a description of the denim that I'm selling, because it's harder to sell clothes online than it is in person, because online is perceived value. So in that perceived value, I have to give a description, a detailed description as to what these garments are, how to fit, the measurements and everything, the decades, like the year that they were possibly manufactured and made in. So, yeah, I study. So, I would sell a lot, resell a lot. Prime example, before we changed the name to Reclaim Denim back in 2021, we used to pop up at the Spice Suite a lot. And I did a $25 fill a bag. The fill a bag sale consisted of the older merchandise that I didn't want to get rid of at first. But one half of the rack, it was coated by hangers, was a $25 filler bag for 2 hours of the pop up. The other half was the newer items that we had just acquired. That was regular price. That pop up was extremely successful. So that's how I had to detach from it. And my partner, she's like, girl, you gotta let it go, let it go, let it go. I'll let this go, but then I might go find another piece that's something like it and have it. But I'm gonna let
my closet's never gonna be empty, but I'm gonna let something go.
Yeah. So I just would sell, sell, sell. So what I used to say is all I do is rotate 3 outfits, talk shit and have panic attacks. However, I no longer have those panic attacks. I still rotate the 3 outfits. Those 3 outfits meaning my base uniform pieces. This is how I stay true to it. So, and it could be a trendy piece that I might add to a basic black blazer or a brooch or something to give it a little bit more a fun factor. So it's not so boring. But at the end of the day, rotating 3 uniforms, 3 outfits is how I stay true to it. I think with the influx of fast fashion and in more recent years, I was saying within like the last 10 years,